It's that time of year. It's Skin Cancer Awareness Week, also Melanoma Awareness Day today. Australia, you know, at this time of year, we're always talking about slip-slopping and slapping and staying out of the sun. Given it's this time of year, with skin cancers, what are we looking for?
Well, there are all sorts of skin cancers. The sort that most of those people who are under 40 get are not really skin cancers. They're, if you like, a little bit of irritation that could make you get a skin cancer later in your life. They should be addressed appropriately, but they're not a cancer. The sort of cancers that we need to worry about are called squamous cell carcinomas. Carcinoma means cancer, and they're things that have to be properly removed, or they're spread from where they are to other parts of the body via the bloodstream. So that's the first one we have to worry about, and that is, without a doubt, the most common. And that's an example of a cancer, but funnily enough, that's a different sort of cancer. I don't want to speak about that one, because that one won't spread so much. But nonetheless, it gives you an idea that the skin that that person has is very, very sensitive to sunlight.
Okay, well, so I'm sitting there and I've got, you know, I've a couple of freckles on my hands, certainly freckles on my body. Do I have to watch those very carefully all summer or all year, for that matter?
When you're talking about skin cancer, the other sort that is much less common but which is terribly important is the sort of cancer that develops in freckles, and it's called melanoma. And that's because the cells that make that brownness of the skin go funny, they spread. And that sort of cancer really needs to be looked at, and that occurs from teenage right through to the age of about 60. And that sort of cancer, that sort of any change in that sort of spot needs to be looked at by a doctor.
Okay, now when you're saying any change, we've got one on screen there. Now I've got a, you know, like a mole here that it's just a dark mole.
Right.
That I get quite nervous about.
It's always been the same. It's never
apparently
changed.
It's always been the same, yeah.
It doesn't itch. It doesn't bleed.
So that's what we're looking for: bleeding, itching,
growing. Itching, growing. That's
sideways, isn't it?
Sideways, but also getting smaller. Sometimes the melanoma can get a little bit smaller. So any change in a, if you like, in a lesion like you're just mentioning, like a freckle, that's the sort of thing that we really have to be careful of.
Okay. All right, well, we might have some more as well, so stay with us, please, Dr. John Darcy. Now, we've got in Melbourne, as I said, it is Skin Cancer Awareness Week. So in Melbourne, we have Kate Andrew Bretherton. Thank you.
You got it.
Okay, thanks for talking to us. Third-ranked aerial skier in the world, and also Clive Deverell, the National Anti-Cancer Council. Thanks very much for joining us, both of you. Now, Kate, you work in the sun, you would think, all year round. How do you avoid the sun?
Well, actually, I'm in the sun a lot of the time, so yeah, sunscreen's very important for me.
So
it really is.
Most of your time, I would think, would be in the snow. So, do you have to wear sunscreen as well there?
Oh, definitely. If I don't wear sunscreen, I end up terribly sunburnt and even blisters or something. So, really, it's absolutely essential that I wear sunscreen. In
your travels around the world, do you find that Australia's sun is harsher than anywhere else?
I do, actually. I tend to find that I'm more likely to get sunburnt on the Australian ski slopes, and also just around in Melbourne. I get terribly sunburned if I'm not careful. Are
you quite fair-skinned, Kate? You appear to be?
Yeah, very fair.
So can we expect to see you in the Winter Olympics sometime soon, covered in, slattered in block out?
Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. 2002 is really what I'm aiming for, but definitely covered with sunscreen. Absolutely.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Now, Clive, thank you also for joining us this morning. How important is sunscreen in the prevention of cancers, skin cancers?
Sunscreen is important, but it's not the be-all and end-all in terms of reducing your risk of becoming one of those statistics that John Darcy was talking about. We know there are 300,000 people over a 12-month period in Australia who leave their doctor's surgery having had a diagnosis of skin cancer. 1,200 of those will probably die of their skin cancer. So sun lotion, sunscreen, gels, all these things help as part of the protection or reduction, the risk reduction of getting skin cancer. But we've got to use shade intelligently, we've got to have children with no hat, no play policies, and we've got to use protective clothing, hats, sunglasses. It's all part of what we call this year the complete sun care system.
Does this all go against the Australian psyche, though, of fun-loving outdoor Australians in the sun and sunbaking?
Well, all those rock and rollers from the 50s and the 60s, I think those are the horses who bolted out of the stable a long time ago, and we're going to find it very difficult to catch them. But they'll all be in the doctor's waiting room waiting for that diagnosis. But we're really in the business of getting that behavioural modification and aiming for a sunburn-free generation with all the youngsters. That's why the Australian Cancer Society and all its members spend so much time in the schools, making sure that kids wear hats, put on sunscreen, stay in the shade, all of that package which goes towards reducing that risk of getting skin cancer later in life.
Clive, is there such a thing as a safe tan?
No, not really. A tan just shows you that your skin is protecting itself against further damage. You know, despite all this gloom and doom, we can still have fun in the sun, if you like, but we've got to make sure we're sensible, we don't spend too long in the sun, that we wear all the complete sun care system paraphernalia that goes with it,
So
the hats and all the rest of it.
It really is common sense, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. Frequency and amount of exposure is important, but we must treat the sunscreen not as a magic shield. It's not there for you to put on your body and then spend all day on the beach.
All right, Clive and Kate, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
So, John, we've heard that there's not really such a thing as a safe tan. If people want to look healthy and feel healthy and, you know, a little bit brown, what do you suggest that they do?
Well, caution's the main thing. And as he says, sunscreen is just one part. Whack on a hat, slip on a shirt, and make sure that you don't spend exhausting periods of time in the sun. We look after our little kids. We see that. They're wearing their little costumes when they're down the beach. But Mum and Dad are out there baking. I can't believe it. We've really got to change that.
Well, maybe we'll be able to. I mean, we should, you know. Get used to your kids wearing those sort of rashy suit things.
Kids love it.
Yep, they do. All right, thanks very much for coming in, John.
Pleasure.
We'll keep you up to date with skin cancer all through the summer as well. Still to come on 11 a.m, all the latest news headlines with Melissa Doyle.